Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of Thrive Like a Parent podcast. For some reason, you all love the podcast where I just kind of get you up to date and tell you what's going on in my life. And I know I've done one of these recently, but there's been a lot that's going on now and currently, and that went on this weekend. And so I'm going to share a little bit about that with you, as well as I have some really incredible stories for you that I think you're going to find pretty interesting. So, the first thing I want to talk to you about is travel. I have a lot of travel this summer coming up, and one of them is going to be traveling to drop my children off at sleepaway camp. This for me has been something that a few years ago, actually while I was at Miraval, which I'm going to this summer, I recognized that in order for me to be able to show up for my kids as much as possible, it's really important to honor and acknowledge when you need a break. And for me, I think that the best time to do it is in the summer. And so I've always known that sleepaway camp was a really great option for the boys. And I've had this thought in my head for many years of like, okay, in a few years, they will both go off to sleepaway camp and I will be able to have the respite care I need. And now that it's here, it's kind of wacko and crazy because I envisioned this so many years ago. And this will be the first time that I have an extended break, if you will, as a parent since Jonathan passed. And every single year, my mom has taken them for a week in the summer, which is so incredibly helpful. Charlie went to sleepaway camp last year for 2 weeks, which was spending wonderful time with Eli. And it was also really nerve-wracking to think about, is my child having fun? Like you think, okay, this is going to be like awesome sending them off. Bye. You're a nervous wreck. Like it's a lot. But as I am getting them ready to send them off, I am recognizing how much more capacity I have this year than last, and I am so damn proud of that. And that is such a win for me. Last year, to give you an idea of how much capacity I had, Lolo handled everything for Charlie. I really didn't see the list. I really didn't pay attention to the packing list. She basically did everything. And while that might sound foreign to you as a parent of like, what do you mean you didn't pack your own child? I am a solo parent. And so Lolo basically functions like my second parent, and she always has. And I'm so abundantly grateful for her and always will be. And I have that trust of like knowing she'll manage it and handle it. And it's just been, I wouldn't be where I am without her, I got to tell you. And in like the final hour, I literally was like, how am I sending my child to camp not knowing what he's packing? And I pulled everything out, looked at all of it, organized all of it. And then I went and I got like a photo album and some magazines and like some surprises for him to open up and see when he got to camp. And that felt really good. And I'm kind of doing the same this year, but Lolo has probably helped me about 10 to 20%. And I've really done it all, which tells me how much capacity I really have this year as opposed to last year. And again, that is such a win for me because you don't recognize where you're at until you're able to track all of this data and look back. And it's not a comparison of, oh, wow, you weren't doing well. It's a win. It's a celebration of, I can breathe. Things are lighter. I'm getting my spark back. And, we just hit the 3-year mark for Jonathan in April. And there's a lot of things at play here. The kids are older, wiser, more mature, understanding. I'm not in as much heavy grief or fight or flight as I was. The business in our team is bigger. And so it allows me to have less to be able to do more for the kids. And it's just the journey of trust and faith. And so I say all that to remind you, if you are in a place of, I have no idea how I'm going to get through this, like, oh my gosh, this is exhausting. This is miserable. This, like, I promise you, it won't always be like that. I promise you that seasons absolutely ebb and flow, and they really do make a difference in terms of if you track and if you observe your life and if you're present to your life and allow in the support and help, right, in order to get to wherever you need to be. And it's not so fun packing all this stuff up and being responsible for all of this. Lolo did a heck of a job last year. I'm wildly impressed. And now it's my turn. Now I have the capacity. Now I'm doing these things. And I know I've said this twice already, but I'm just so proud to be where I'm at. And it's taken so much effort to get here. And I look forward to more travel with my kids this summer after sleepaway camp. We are going to Alaska, and I promise to post stories and all the things. But I went to Alaska as a young girl with my sister and family and grandmother. And my mom is now doing the same. And we're going with my sister and her family and my family. And I'm so excited for the boys to experience something I experienced as a little kid as well. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little afraid that my children are such monkeys that they'll fall off the boat because we are going via cruise. So I don't know how my anxiety will be on the trip. I have not been on a cruise in years. I think the last cruise I took was prior to having children. We went for like my grandfather's, I don't know, 80th birthday, I believe. It was a huge group of us. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm excited to do that. And another trip I'm doing is, like I said, while the kids are at camp, I will be going to Miraval. I do this every summer, and this place has been such a magical, healing place for me. And I love going back there each summer again to do more tracking, if you will, of like, how do I feel showing up to Miraval this year? How do I feel showing up to Miraval versus last year? And I'm really excited because I feel really good. But the craziest part is I will feel extraordinary when I'm leaving. And so I've done a vlog. I did it 2 years ago, and I did day to day to day of, I explained sensory and emotional regulation the best way I could on myself of what I felt every single day. And so I would like to do that again this year. And so you can plan on a lot of videos being uploaded to YouTube, and I will give you the download of what that looks like, because it's really, you can see firsthand what slowing down and what taking care of yourself can do to your brain and body. And I explain it literally via each stimuli of like, I'm walking slower, I'm talking slower, I'm eating slower. My creative brain turns back online. Usually I get so much more clarity of where I want the business to go, or even issues we've been having in the business of like, Nadia, I've got it. Like, this is what we're going to do when I get back. Because even though I work really, really hard to maintain a level of regulation on a day-to-day basis, I can truly feel a difference when I don't have the to-do list, when I don't have work, when I don't have the kids. It's my ability to allow my brain to really, truly take a pause, take a rest. And I believe that everyone's brain needs that a lot, like at least once a year. And so I'll be doing that. And so I'm really excited. We're going to take another trip with Carter and his daughter and all of us at the end of the summer, probably go to the beach. And, summer has such a different vibe for me than any other time during the year. I look forward to it every single year, and it feels much slower paced. We intentionally have it that way. And the kids are still involved in camps, and I fill their schedule for sure because I still work through the summer. But we take time to slow down as a family and really extend our days, if you will. Even after camp, we'll go to a pool, or we'll go on a hike, or we'll go fishing, or we'll do something outdoors to spend time together. And the feeling I get from summer is really living life, if you will, rather than sports and school and structure. And I used to crave needing structure, stability, control, and I talk about that a lot. I used to crave having that consistent routine. Now I love just being able to be present and live and be like, okay, now we're going to do this. Okay, now we're going to do that. Okay, now we're going to do that. And the ability to throttle, right? That's that gas pedal and brake. But the ability to throttle and be able to be fluid between those is something I look forward to in summer every single year. And I also like the hot, so because I'm always freezing cold. So it's a feel good time for me. Another thing I want to talk about is what just happened this weekend, which was Austin under 40. I in the past have tried to steer clear of saying the word Austin. And a lot of times when I meet people in person, they're like, "Oh my God, I had no idea you were here." And I did that intentionally, especially when I was starting this journey. I was a single parent, and particularly my mom was very worried about my exposure to letting people know where I lived. And so I always said Texas. And I now am in a committed relationship and I feel more stable, and I feel okay to tell people where I am, if you will. And that is Austin. And when I got nominated, I made a mental promise or note to myself of, we don't care if we win or lose. This is not about winning or losing. This is about being recognized. And that's fully what I leaned into. I did not go into that evening with disappointment or sadness or hope or fear, or I just went and had a good time. And my mom and her partner came in town, and Nadia came, and we had a whole table with some of my closest girlfriends. And of course, Carter was there. And I got to tell you, I haven't been to a function or a large function like that since probably before COVID. And it felt really nice to get dressed up and put on heels and do something different. It just felt so wonderful. And yes, there was dress drama, even though I tried to buy the damn dress so early in advance. And seven dresses later, no joke, this dress that I wore fit. Okay, it was fine, but it was a tiny bit snug, and the other size was a tiny bit better. And they were all cut different. So, no joke, there were 2 dresses on my porch when I got home that I was waiting for all day, hoping that I could try them on before the event. But it was fine, it all worked out. As I was sitting there, I think because I tried to just accept the nomination and be grateful for that and really not lean into giving it too much thought or hype or this or that. As we're sitting there, they start the program. I look over at my mom, and my mom is just full blown tears. Like, they're not even about to announce like my category. And she's just sniffing back tears. And seeing her do that helped me gain perspective of the culmination of what that night meant for me and for my mom and for where I'm at in my life. This road, this journey, it's not for the faint of heart. It has not been easy. There's been days and weeks and even months where I've curdled over in pain, hysterically crying in my closet, and then smiling to be like, okay, kids, let's keep going. There's been days where I've snapped at the kids and been so angry at myself. There's been days where I've snapped at the kids and been so angry at Jonathan. And that anger diminished as the years went on. And now I just hold myself responsible if I'm struggling or not doing well or not taking care of myself as much as I need to, or whatever's coming up for me. But to be able to show up and be in such a healthy, stable, beautiful place in my life, it just like all the memories came flooding back of what I've been through to get to that point. And it was almost in a way hard to take it all in, to know that someone in a whole community, in a whole city recognized my work, my efforts, and the good that we're doing here, as well as my own personal journey of how I've gotten here. And it was almost a way for me to show up for myself of like, yeah, I did that. I did this. And it was also giving back to a good cause. And it's called the Sunshine Camp. And it's for kids who would not otherwise be able to go to sleepaway camp. And it's a 9-night, 10-day camp. And so it felt really good to give back. And it was so wonderful to hear about everyone who was nominated and meet so many people and see so many of you and hug so many of you and get to meet so many of you. And also hear about all the wonderful things that all the nominees and finalists and winners of what they have done in their life. And, it actually lit a spark in me even more of, wow, there's more for me to go in terms of getting more involved in the community and volunteering and being on boards. And, this wasn't things that I could potentially do or have the capacity for maybe even a year ago, like I was saying. And there's been moments where I've really wanted to breathe and even take a break. And I think because I didn't stop from the moment Jonathan and I separated, and I still haven't stopped, right? I just get little pauses and breaks. There's been part of me that has wanted to take that pause and break, but after Saturday night, there's just this like fire under me to want to do more and to help support more and be able to give back to the community in whatever way I can. And there's just so many incredible people doing so much good. And it was such an honor to be part of that community that was recognized. And it just felt wonderful to just take a moment to be like, I've gotten here, wherever here is, like I did it. And not in a way, if I did it, I've been recognized for an award. But more of I'm here and I have gotten here with a lot of support, but also supporting myself and getting through really, really hard years. And so it was a night to be proud of myself, which is not very easy for any of us to do and celebrate ourselves. So that was awesome. And then the other thing I wanted to tell you was a little story. And it's actually a story about my 97-year-old incredible grandfather. My grandfather is actually currently not doing very well, but he is the most gregarious, hilarious, flirtatious, funny guy you will ever meet. My grandfather has been the belle of the ball at every event you could ever imagine. He flirted with every waitress you ever went to a restaurant at with him. Like he's just been amazing. And my grandfather moved into assisted living a little bit shy of a year ago, let's say. I don't know the exact date, but ever since my grandfather moved into this facility, he has not slept well. And so the doctors have tried to give and prescribe him medicine to help with his sleeping. And my grandfather's actually sleeping. But he's just saying, he's like, I am not sleeping, like for weeks and months. And I'll be damned, he figured it out. My grandfather was sleeping with a different blanket at his house than the one he brought to the assisted living facility. And he looked at my uncle and he said, I figured it out. I am not sleeping because of the blanket. My uncle took the blanket that was at my grandfather's house, took it home and washed it and never brought it back or brought it to him at the assisted living. So my grandfather was sleeping with a different blanket. And the weight of the blanket, the feel, the texture, the touch was the missing piece that wasn't allowing him to get restful sleep. And I'm sharing this with you because a 97-year-old lost sleep due to a sensory need. And I feel like this story is just so profound in reminding you how important it is to understand this information. Because I don't think that my grandfather, if he had known this information and was like, this is what my body craves. This is what my body needs. I need this type of weighted blanket, or I need this, or I need that. Immediately he would have known I need that blanket, or I need something else on top of me, or like he would have known. And so he wouldn't have gone weeks without rest. But by understanding what your body and brain needs, you can readily go get those things for yourself without wasting weeks and lack of sleep, right? And the point of this story is that even at 97 years old, our nervous system and sensory system is still a huge portion, an important part of our life. And that is why it's so important to understand this information as early as possible. The reason that when we work with clients, and yes, we work with parents and non-parents at this point, but the reason that we really incorporate the understanding of a child's nervous system and really give you individualized understanding of your children's nervous system when you work with us is because imagine knowing this information as a child versus learning this information as an adult. How would your life be different? You may even have a different career. You may have even decided you want to have a different style of a partner because of your own nervous system. You may not have as many fights or arguments with your partner because you understand the nervous system. You understand their nervous system. You may be able to support your children and not bicker with them or get frustrated with them or angry with them that much more because you understand their nervous system. Your children may be able to be more functional and more independent earlier on in life because they understand their own nervous system. There is so much benefit to understanding this information. And I get into conversations with anyone who is willing to listen to me about it. And it's just so crazy to me that we learn history and science and chemistry and this and that growing up, but we never learn our own basic anatomy. Like that's not a prerequisite in middle school or high school, or like functionally understanding how our brain and body works. My hope is that I bring it down to a level of understanding for you so that it's not like this scientific stuff that's like, what? I don't get it. My hope is that you understand it at a level where you're like, aha, I get it now. And if you can understand it, then a child can understand it. And so when my mom told me that story about the blanket with my grandfather, she was like, Brooke, you have to tell your audience. Like, you have to tell them. Can you believe this? And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm totally going to. That is like the craziest story. Medication did not help. Sleeping medication aids did not help my grandfather. Sensory regulation, that's what did it. And now I'm not saying that sensory and emotional regulation fixes all issues regarding things that you would otherwise take medication for, but it sure as hell gives you coping skills and strategies and tools that you wouldn't otherwise have. And now I know that my grandfather's sleeping at night. And that's wonderful to know, especially because he's 97 years old and he deserves some rest. Now, the last bit of information I'm going to leave you with is just some advice on transitioning into summer. Like I spoke about, there may not be as much structure. Like I spoke about, you may have more travel. Like I spoke about, you may have a lot more time with your children on your hands. And that may be a good or hard thing. I won't say bad, but hard. And what my hope and wish for you is this summer is to slow down. Walk slower to the restaurant. Eat slower at the restaurant. Put your phone down. Go on nature walks and hikes. It is okay to embrace the unknown. It is okay to embrace the lack of structure. Will it feel uncomfortable? Yes. But when you're packing up that van or car, SUV, whatever you have, as you're packing that up for your road trip to the beach and you're hurrying and rushing, come on, you're pissed off at everyone, or you got to get to the airport and get through security and you're so annoyed and you've got to get there 15,000 hours early, or you don't understand why your spouse wants you there that early. I want you to take a breath and remind yourself, what is the rush? And the more you do that, the more you're slowing your brain down and reminding your brain, there is no threat here. I am safe. And it's really hard sometimes to not just allow yourself to feel safe in threatening moments. That's effort, but it's also effort to allow your brain to feel safe in happy moments and good moments, because we harp so much on the hard, we harp so much on the bad, we harp so much on the not great stuff in our life that we forget to acknowledge or even be present to the good, like literally acknowledging that there's good. So as you ease into the summer, I want you to keep breathing. I want you to relax your shoulders. Take really big inhales and exhales. Do the thing. Say yes to the thing. Go get the ice cream late at night. Let your kids stay up. Watch the movie. Snuggle with them. Have fun. Because summer can be magical if you allow it. And so until next time, XOXO, Dr. B.